we take the moral dimensions of information systems, we have some principles. So there are some principles, say notice awareness. There is websites must disclose practices before collecting data. That is if your information is used in another purpose, you should be aware of that thing. Then the choice or consent. Consumer must be able to choose how information is used for secondary purposes. So this one is practicing in Sri Lanka as well now. If we go to most of the modern trade outlets, say Cargill's, Keels or Arpic or whatever this thing, right? So once you go to the cashier, they'll ask you whether so you have registered for this thing, that thing, and whatever this is, right? So anyhow, they'll get your mobile details and name and blah blah blah, right? So what happens is sooner they get your information, they'll be sending repeatedly the offers and all those stuff, right? So likewise, sometimes what they do is they sell those information to other parties. So in the information systems, what it says is a consumer must be able to choose how information is used for secondary purposes. That is, the consumer should be aware about the handling of these things. And access participation. Consumer must be able to review and contest accuracy of personal data. So once you have provided information for some other party, you should be able to change the information when they are necessary. And security. Data collectors must take steps to ensure accuracy, security of personal data. So once you give your information, you should have a what we call some sort of a assurance that those information will not be going into another third party, right? Another party. So as an example, if you take the information of patients, right? So you, as a hospital, private hospital, you collect information of patients, right? So you keep records of diagnostic test, what the patient has undergone, and the results, and his or her information, personal information, right? So what happens if those information has gone to another party, say for an insurance party, right? So there will be some sort of misconducting, right? So you should be able to, or the collectors must take steps to ensure accuracy, security of personal data. So the collectors should not disclose the information to unwanted parties, right? And the enforcement must be a mechanism to enforce FIP principles. So that is all those things have to be fulfilled for information systems. So this is the European Directive of Data Protection. So companies must inform people information is collected and disclose how it is stored and used. Requires informed consent of customer. EU member nation cannot transfer personal data to countries without similar privacy protection. US business use safe harbor framework, self-regulating policy and enforcement that meets objective of government legislation, but does not involve government regulation or enforcement. And if you consider the Google example, so you are getting so many facilities provided by Google, right? So free of charge. If you take email, there are cloud space where you can store your information, personal data, might be your office data or whatever this thing, and the maps, Google Maps. What else? You get free blog spaces, right? So for anything, I mean, anything stored in the internet has a cost, right? So Google has to bear a cost. If we take their data centers, so those are very much huge, right? So if you take one particular database of Google, that might be in thousands of picabits, right? So picabits. So the processing power is very large, right? So how do they afford those things? So by providing those things free of charge, how do they survive? They have to keep their servers up and running 24 hours, right? So they have to take care of the backups, right? They have to take care of your information, right? So they have to keep a very good backup system. Then they need to think about security, right? If somebody hacks into another one's information, so they want the trust on Google might not be there, right? So the security. So likewise, there are huge cost incurring elements, right? So how do they survive? So that's where the marketing and ads comes into place, right? So they keep profiles of you and sell it at the relevant places, right? So that's how they gain those profits. So from your point of view, what you have to do is you have to think about the privacy, right? So at what extent you should be overwhelmed, right? So you should be able to control your environment or information. I mean, you should be able to secure information, right? So that's how the privacy and all the stuff come into picture. So internet challenges to privacy, we have cookies, web beacons, spyware, Google services, and behavioral targeting. So what do you mean by cookie? So if you take the structure of the modern day applications, earlier it was basically the system which is running on your PC or tablet or your phone or whatever it is, right? So the application is installed on your device and you can use it, right? But most of the applications now are in the server side, I mean the web. So the method is the client server architecture, right? So rather than running it on standalone, so you are doing your business on client server architecture. That is, you have client, the mobile phone or PC or whatever this thing with you. The server has the scripts or the program, right? So basically, server is the place where all the calculations and sorting and all the stuff is done, right? So you will be provided a client, a thin client. Basically, you can't do anything. What you have to do is you can just enter your parameters. The server will be doing the calculation, sorting, or whatever this thing according to your parameters and throw away the result. Right? So this is basically client server architecture, and we take this as server side scripting. Right? So basically, the applications and all those stuff are installed on the server side. So if you take as an example the web browser you are using, say you are using Internet Explorer, right? So it's a client. Your application is at the server, right? So you are accessing the server using your client. As an example, if you take you're browsing Internet Explorer, so you go to the address bar and type the server address which you need to access, right? So suppose you go to google.com.lk, right? So once you enter the destination where you need to go, it will direct to the server, right? So if you want to search something, you type what you need to search, and the server, the application at the server end will do the sorting, selecting, and all those stuff, and provide you the results, right? So how do you keep track of those things? So once you say, suppose once you are logging into the system, how do they remember you? So one method is what we call cookies, right? So what you can do is, so you can search anything on the internet, right? So I'm going to the internet and search, say, hotels of Sri Lanka, right? Once I search for hotels, it will throw me the results, right? At the same time, a cookie will be placed in my computer, right? There we go. We take the latest one. Hotels in Sri Lanka. Say I'm going to the best hotels guide. Right. I have closed the thing. So this is where the cookies are, right? So if you open this thing, it has some information, right? So this is the information regard to the Skype login which I have used, right? So once you log into internet, so they will be keeping cookies on your PC, right? So every time you are logging into the same system again, same server or same search again, it will keep updating the cookie, right? So that's how you keep remember your passwords, right? So that's how they keep remember about your searches, right? So next time you log into the system, this site, it will let you inform last time you searched this one, and you might be interested in this area this time, right? Likewise, there are applications called cookies. So cookies identify browser and track visits to site. So there are cookies, super cookies. Those are flash cookies, right? So the movies or animations. Then web beacons or web bugs, tiny graphics embedded in emails and web pages, which will monitor who is reading email messages or visiting sites. Spyware, surreptitiously installed on user's computer, may transmit users keystroke or display unwanted ads. So those are the pop-ups and advertisements where you get each and every time you log into the system. Say those things are very much popular in adult sites and the game areas like online games and all those stuff, right? If you search something, they will automatically install spyware on your PC or desktop or whatever this thing. Google service and behavioral targeting. So how cookies identify web visitors? So as I showed you earlier, you log into the server. Once you log into the server, it will create a cookie on the PC, right? So next time when you log into the system, it will identify your cookie and reply with your details, right? So one of the classic example for this thing is in the medical industry. I mean, at Navalok Hospital about 5-10 years back, when the computer systems are not that much popular in medical industry, there was a consultant who was attached to Navalok Hospital. So what he does is he has an online system. So patients get registered. I mean, once you are booking the, I mean, once you are getting the appointment, your information is gone to the system. So when an appointment is there, so it just show you the number. My appointment number is 7. So if I am going, once I am going into the room, the doctor comes and open the doors for me and say, Mr. Jasundar, how are you? So at the very first time, I was surprised, right? So I haven't seen this doctor earlier, but when I go to the room, I mean, he opens me the door, right, and greet me with my name. So at the first the first impression is very much pleasant, right? So how does he do that? What he do is he just get the information from the help desk, the receptionist, right? He just get the name of the patient, and the next time when I'm visiting him, he has my history, right? So I have come to Navaloka. I mean, the previous appointment was on that day. What are the medicines prescribed for me? So all the information are with him. So likewise, the social implications are very high on information systems if you are using it in the correct manner. The moral dimensions of information systems. The United States allow business to gather transaction information and use this for other marketing purposes. Opt out versus opt-in model. So this is basically when you are getting registered to something. So you have seen in the internet, there are terms and conditions, right? So basically, what happens is you need to opt in one one condition only, right? But what happens is the particular opt-in option is not ticked, right? But there are so many other opt-in options automatically ticked on, right? So once you tick the main obtain option, the rest of the things are getting automatically ticked, right? So those kind of things should be avoided, right? So if you have seen the Chrome, right? If you install some plugin with Chrome, if you put the tick for the core condition, it will automatically tick the other alternative things also, right? So whereas the other, rest of the things are not related to your conditions. Online industry promotes self-regulation over privacy registration. However, extent of responsibility taken varies complex ambiguous privacy statements. Opt-out models selected over opt-in. Online seals of privacy principles. So what are the solutions over those kind of malfunctions? So email encryption. So if you take emails, what happens is you send an email from your email to somebody else's email. It will go through several servers, right? So at each and every server level, your email might be hacked or might be able to read by another party. To avoid those things, what you can do is you can encrypt the email. Basically, you provide a sort of encryption code, and at the destination, the user can decrypt it and read the mail, right? So it's not visible to the user, but the mechanism is there to encrypt and decrypt the mail where the intermediate servers can't access the information. And anonymity tools, anti-spyware tools. If you take most of the antivirus companies now provide anti-spyware, anti-malware, and so many other UTMs, say unified threat protecting tools. And there are browser features like private browsing, do not track options. Overall, few technical solutions, right? So we take the modern firewalls, they have security inbuilt for unified communication controls, right? Life on the grid. So why do mobile phones manufacturers, Apple, Google, and BlackBerry, want to track where their customers go? So this is a interaction session. Right? So if you take the technology behind mobile devices, BlackBerry was the most secure device because the encryption and the decryption it used was a proprietary product. So that mail can't be tracked by anybody outside BlackBerry, right? So earlier BlackBerry was the most secure and the safe mode of email, but now Apple, Google, and other things use open sources, right? So the other thing is all of those suppliers enable GPS tracking, right? So in the applications, they enable always the tracking of your phone and the place. So if you go to any application, it will ask you, right? Okay, so we will be accessing your location, right? So that's basically to track your mobility. So property rights, intellectual property. So intellectual property, intangible property of any kind created by individuals or corporations. three main ways that intellectual property is protected: using trade secret, copyright, patents. Trade secrets are intellectual work or product belonging to business, not in the public domain. Copyright, statutory grant protecting intellectual property from being copied for the life for the author plus 70 years. Patents, grants creator of invention an exclusive monopoly on ideas behind invention for 20 years. So what is the impact with information systems on those intellectual properties, trade secrets, copyrights and patents? Challenges to intellectual property rights. Digital media different from physical media. Example, books. Ease of replication, ease of transmission, difficulty in classifying software, compactness, difficulties in establishing uniqueness. So if you take as an example the songs, right? So it's an intellectual property, but nowadays it's available on peer-to-peer networks, right? If you go to sites like torrents, there are freely available songs, right? But if you take the Intellectual Property Act, right? So the benefit should be gone to the owner, right? The owner of the musician, the writer of the song, I mean the lyrics, and the singer, right? But none of the parties getting benefited with this kind of things, right? So always there should be a method to protect the intellectual properties of individuals, right? So the classic example is the music industry, right? So it's freely available, so nobody is willing to pay the royalty for the owners, right? So everywhere it's available, so what they do is they just download it and repeat to a CD, right? So they don't go for CD shop or whatever, wherever, and buy the things, right? So if we go to a CD shop and buy the thing in the proper path, so definitely the royalty goes to the owners, right? But in peer-to-peer transmissions, there might be issues in intellectual property rights. Digital Millennium Copyright Act makes it legal to circumvent technology-based protections of copyrighted materials. So there are ways in the internet. So if you are using somebody else's ideas or concepts, you have to mention it, or else you have to pay for the thing. Accountability, liability and control. Computer related liability problems. If software fails, who is responsible? If seen a part of machine that injures or harms, software producers and operator may be liable. If seen as similar to book, difficult to hold author publisher responsible. What should liability be if software seen as service? Would this be similar to telephone systems not being liable for transmitted messages? So those are the points which you have to think about. System quality, data quality and system errors. What is an acceptable technologically feasible level of system quality? Flawless software is economically unfeasible. So if you take, you can't accept 100% accuracy from a software, right? So there might be at least 1 to 4%, 5% of inaccuracy, right? Inaccuracy. So When you go for perfect systems, they might be economically unfeasible. Three principal sources of poor system performance: software bugs and errors, hardware facility failures, poor input data quality. Most common source of business system failure. Quality of life, equity, access boundaries. So negative social consequences are of systems. Balancing power. Although computing power decentralizing, key decision making remains centralized. Rapidity of change. Business may not have enough time to respond to global competition. Managing boundaries. Computing internet use lengthens workday, infringes on family personal time. Dependence and vulnerability. Public and private organizations ever more dependent on computer systems. In computer crime and abuse. Computer crime, commission of illegal acts through the use of computer against a computer system. Computer may be object or instrument of crime. Computer abuse, unethical acts, not illegal. Spam, high cost of business in dealing with spam. So if we take an average email server, 80% of the mails are spams or unwanted mails, right? So how do you monitor and filter those things? There are a lot of money invested on spam filtering because it utilizes your network, your server space, and your time, right? So once you open your mailbox in the morning, there are 100 mails, whereas there are only 20 of them are related to your business or productive, right? 80% of them are unwanted spam mails. So there are so many methods to block or restrict spam mails. There are spam protectors. So a lot of money have been invested on developing those kind of applications. Employment, re-engineering work resulting in lost jobs. So how does it happen? So one of the classic example is the automation of immigration department. So earlier, if you have experienced, to get an passport, you need to go to the passport office, fill the applications, and certify those things. So it's a very hectic job, right? So if you go in the morning, you have to wait till the late evening, right? So and to get the passport to your hand, it takes about at least 1 month, right? So with the automation of the passport office, what has happened was the applications and the procedures and processes were changed, right? So that within an hour or two, they are in a position of providing you the passport, right? At the express counter. At the same time, if you go for the normal service, it will take only about 2 or 3 weeks, right? So what had happened was the processes, the non-productive processes were eliminated, and they have re-engineered the processes and applied the latest information technology practices. So because of that, the middlemen, the brokers who were attached to each and every non-productive processes lost their jobs, right? So earlier, if you can remember, when the passport office was at Bambalapitiya, When you get down from the junction, and if you are walking towards that office, there are so many brokers, right? So they are asked, you need the help on passport, so we can take you the passport within 1 or 2 days. What they do is they just handle the process and got money, right? But with the new system, they have eliminated those kind of middlemen and improved the efficiency of the process. Equity and access, the digital divide. Certain ethnic and income groups in the United States like less likely to have computers or internet access. In the Sri Lankan context also, if we take rural areas, we don't get that much of access to the internet, right? And the infrastructure. So one of the classic example is I was working on a project at Eastern Province. So the main income of those area was milk, right? So they have 2 or 3 cows at their homes, and they provide milk to private organizations. So how does it happen is they have a farmer society at their village, and there's a leader who collects the milk and sends to the chilling center, nearest chilling center, right? So at the end of the month, the farmer will receive a check, right, for the milk he or she has provided. But the thing is, to get realize that check, the farmer has to travel about 40 kilometers, where the closest available branch of the bank is 40 or 30 kilometers away from his place, right? So the transportation is not that good on those area. So if you need to get clear the check, they have to wear a day, because to go to the city they have to waste about 1 or 2 hours, and they have to get clear their check, and once the transaction is done, they need to come to their village. It will take about another 2 hours, right? So the solution for those things were some sort of a easy pay system, like Dialog Easy Cash, right? Where they can take their money from the nearest shop or hardware or whatever this is, the petrol shed or whatever, wherever, right? So the practical issue was, in most of the areas, even the GSM coverage was not there, right? So, but we are talking about the internet access on the rural areas, right? So that's one of the key challenge, that is a digital divide. So next one is the health risks which may occur when you're using information systems for a long time. So repetitive stress injury, largest source is computer keyboards, carpal tunnel syndromes, and computer vision syndromes, eye strain, and headaches related to screen use. Then techno stress, aggravation, impatience, and fatigue. So those are health risk of information systems. So logically we have covered the basic ideas of social and ethical issues in information systems. So have you got any problems or clarifications to be done? So can you replace the human factor with information systems? Say, as an example, say earlier, if you want, say, you have a you have an account in your bank, right? So if you want to withdraw money, you have to go to the branch and write the slip, and the person at the counter verifies your signature and provide you money, right? But now you don't go to the bank, right? So you just go to the internet, or you just go to the ATM. The human interaction is not there. You just enter your ATM, put your verification number, personal identification number, withdraw money, right? Likewise, can you automate each and every process? No. Why? Sorry? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 That's the thing. I mean, human intervention must be there for at least some critical activities, right? So you can automate, but up to certain level, right? So otherwise, the existence of human might not be there for businesses, right? For the decision making, basically, you need human intervention, right? So if you take other things like, say, the same thing on the banks, right? So you apply for loans. So can you automate the process? You get applications filled by the applicant or the loan requester. You can submit those things automatically, right? So you can get the information from the crib, right? So if you have access to crib, you can get basically the profiling, behavioral profiling of a candidate, right? So whatever the transactions he had done with financial institutions is reflected on crib, right? So by looking at that thing, can the system be automated? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you can't do it in paperless manner. Otherwise, unless otherwise, you get the consent in digital format, right? So once you go to bank, if you need to open an account, right? So you have to put your signature, right? So now what they do is they just get the scan image, right? So that's the proof for them. So likewise, you should be have some sort of a digital proof, right? Unless otherwise, that won't be practical. Yes, I think it has been done. According to my knowledge, I think now they accept emails. Earlier it was faxes only, right? But now I'm not very sure. But recently I heard that emails. are accepted as proof of proof of legal documents. And there are some classic examples. I mean, one time I went to Mobitel, right? So I have two Mobitel connections at the moment. So one is for about 15 years old, right? So when I go to the Mobitel office for to get a new data connection, so they asked me, right, okay, so just fill this application, and they wanted a copy of NIC, National Identity Card, and a billing proof, right? So I provided the application and give them the copy of NIC, and I asked, what's the purpose of having a billing proof since I am a customer of you for 15 years, right? So my invoice itself is a billing proof for you. So why should I provide another billing proof? What they told me was, no sir, we need a separate thing. So Mobitel bill is not a billing proof for us. So we need another thing. So I said, no, I don't have any billing proofs. So I don't get any mails from anybody unless from Mobitel. So if you can't give me the, uh, that's it, I'll go to another vendor. So they just transfer me to the manager. And when I asked him, okay, so I am being a customer for 15 years. So why should I provide a new billing proof? So if you need a billing proof, just take a copy of my last bill and attach to this. So finally, I mean, he put some approval on that thing and gave me the connection. But the thing was, in their system, they have to provide a billing proof, right? Unless they can't issue the SIM. So I don't know. I mean, there should be some sort of a mechanism if the customer is existing person. So why they should provide another billing proof? Those kind of limitations are there. I mean, the human interaction needs some sort of intervention on processes. So you work for Inland Revenue, Department of Inland Revenue. What else? I mean, and the other thing is, you can't accept that much of automation related to say some of the things, fruits and vegetables, right? So you purchase over internet, but in some instances you prefer to have some sort of a touch and feel, right? Especially for fruits and vegetables, then for garments like the clothes, right? So by just looking at the picture, people might not be able to, I mean, they might be not that much comfortable to buy the goods, right? So especially for clothes and all the stuff, people like to have a touch and feel. I mean, and they need to fit on the things and see, right? So likewise, there are some areas we can't automate fully, and most of the production lines, I mean, earlier the garment or apparel industry, they were live dummies, right? To see the stretching points and how does it happen when you bend your, say, leg go, arm or whatever these things, right? So those things are now automated, right? So the live dummies are no more in say about another 5-10 years. Those kind of things are automated, but there are some certain things people need human interaction. And so that's all for the contents today. So if you have any questions, just let me know.